Welcome to Cardone Debates. It is Tuesday, January 13th, 2026. And we're going to be discussing, is Bitcoin the best business in the world? Make me wrong. We talk about this a lot. Gary has a very, very strong opinion on this. This is a recurring theme in Cardone Debates. And we have a new guest today, and we have a few guests who have been here before. Gary, welcome to your show.
Hello.
You're muted.
Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Beautiful. Yeah, listen, I think that, when I say, hey, let's do the debate on this topic, a week ago, it seemed like, okay, this is the right time to do it. And then a week goes by and you're like, what are we talking about today? But look, I have a thesis, and I would love Joe and Siong and Normie and yourself and Dustin or anybody else that would like to come up. Because I look at all these SBRs, the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Companies. I look at the alt companies. I look at building private companies. I've done this since I was 27 years old, just building companies. And the more I look at Bitcoin, I was with Scott Melker about a month or two ago. In fact, I'm going to see him tomorrow, and we're going to do some a conversation. But I was walking him through my thesis that Bitcoin is for a private family, for a young woman your age, most certainly, for a 20-year-old who is confused and lost about what they should do. I think Bitcoin is grossly misunderstood. It's only seen as a commodity. And I look at it and go, wow, I can't build a business that affords me the luxury of a 4 to 8 year exit. 4 to 8 years, okay? I have never exited without hooks in my very soul from a business in less than 8 years. In fact, I don't think I've done one in 8 years. My first one took 17 years. And my exit was so well timed, I was worried for 2 years that I was going to get a DOJ letter. And that was from a company that was private and would go public. So people that say you can't make a lot of money in young life working for other people, that's just not true. And because I hear too many people trying to make $500 bets turn into 500,000. And first off, $500 bets aren't ever going to do much of anything because it's not enough money for to even care. If you lose 500, the end of the world is not there. But if you lose 50,000 or 500,000, that's a very different story. And popping around just buying these companies thinking that another group of people is going to make money for you when you can just buy Bitcoin. And so I would like everyone to go against me in any way they can, whether it's not diversified, whether there's risk because it's a commodity, it's too volatile or whatever. I am convinced that it is far better to build your own knowledge base and career. And while you're doing that, also have this Bitcoin business going on that doesn't require massive amounts of it has no operational risk whatsoever. You don't have to have an economics background to do this. And every family I know has investments and assets, and they all say, hey, I wish I ran my own business. Like, well, go run a Bitcoin franchise, which is collecting Bitcoin. If it's good for Michael Saylor at some point, if it's good for all these 200 companies that put Bitcoin on their balance sheet, if you bought that thesis, my thesis is far superior to have your own family Bitcoin reserve, the FBR. Okay, and you don't have to worry about going public, but it's the FBR, and it's like having a franchise that does not require maintenance, insurance, people, contracts, hooks into you forever and ever, or hurricane risk, or staffing risk, or zero human error risk, and no legal issues. Whether it's geo-legal or, whether it's in Colombia or whether it's in the United States, there's no, you can move around. You're not stuck to, oh, I'm in the oil business. I have to live in Dallas or Houston. So that's my opening. Everyone can take a shot at me. You know what I'm going to say here. But after doing 5, 6 businesses, like it's a no-brainer, an absolute no-brainer to me that people start to look at this differently. Scott was like, dude, you should go on a speaking tour and pitch this, write a book, and do the whole. And I'm like why? Me having more and more Bitcoin, like I'm trying to pick up 50 to 70 Bitcoin right now. Me having more Bitcoin is a business, dude. If I was going out every day mining my ass off in the gold mines or silver mines, today would be high. Oh, Gary's doing the silver mining. Yeah, dude, I can kill myself. Go out to work every day. I won't have another business, by the way. I'll just be mining silver and killing myself. And one day, if the price of silver doesn't go down, maybe I'll get rich. But I'm going to have a lot of heavy equipment, a lot of people, right-of-ways, government contracts. The regulators can come in and go, ooh, you're silver mining next to a river. The frogs of Egypt are going to die because you're doing silver mining. None of that's going to happen on Bitcoin. So especially that I'm not mining. I'm mining fiat. I'm working 80 hours a week mining fiat, and I'm buying Bitcoin. So I'll end there.
Okay. Well, I'm going to bring up the rest of the guests. We're all going to be debating against Gary, even though a lot of people here obviously are pro Bitcoin. But Dustin, you've run a lot of businesses. So what do you have to say about this topic?
Gary's not wrong that building a business is a bitch, right? Like, yeah, I've often heard Gary talk about as soon as there's an HR department, I'm out. And I've always appreciated that, having built several large businesses and sold them, and other organizations. He's not wrong about the financial sense if you've got a big enough nut for it to make sense. But I'm going to go back. I've made this argument many times. We need people to do more than just collect damn Bitcoin, right? We need you to go out and build things that people use, right, in order for society to continue. I mean, if the goal is to sit at home and watch Netflix all day, every day, and and become Wally in 800 pounds, woo, like Shamu, they yes, you could go, right? Like, you can do well just collecting Bitcoin and avoid all of the nightmare. And he's not wrong. It's a nightmare, right? The regulatory with the government. Both Gary and I could tell you, when the government decides to come after you, you are in for hell. I call it lawyer hell, for years, and often without resolution, where everything feels in doubt. I grant that. At the same time, though, right? If for younger people coming up who are entrepreneurial minded, this conversation I don't think is for everybody anyway. Most people don't want to have the kind of independence and responsibility that comes with managing your own life. But if you're of that mind, go out and build the next great business, right? Like, to me, you go in with your eyes wide open that you're going to sacrifice, that it's going to be difficult. But this idea of withdrawing from your destiny by just buying Bitcoin, I think there's almost a spiritual risk to that. And for Gary, who's been in the trenches, who's gone through the ups and downs of the whole thing, I do not begrudge at all. In fact, I think it makes perfect sense, right, to go and focus on the art, right, while having that comfortability. I love that Bitcoin affords that opportunity, but treating it as the only part, right? Like, instead of being entrepreneurial, right, when you're young, just withdrawing and buying Bitcoin, I think it's going to leave a lot of people unsatisfied, even if the finances make sense.
Okay, it's a solid argument.
No, it's not a solid argument. It is a argument. Okay, but the trick here, and I think I understand what Dustin's saying. That I never said anything about being lazy or fat, sitting on a couch. Now this is the challenge. This is what I have been going through on the IM stuff that I do Sunday mornings at 10:30 a.m. That is, to me, spectacular. It's the best work I've ever done about anything. Charge zero. Okay, so like if you're not watching that and you're struggling, I don't know why people aren't watching that. It's not really my information. It's information from all the great people in the whole world that's ever written anything about freedom. The challenge is Bitcoin doesn't require me to go to a bunch of dumb meetings. Now, I would ask you guys, how many fucking stupid meetings do you go to every day, every week? You go see clients fly all over the world, spend $1,800 on a airline ticket, then hotel bills, go out there to Canada 3 or 4 times just to show them that you're real, and you're 10 grand in, dude. $10,000 in on a business that may or may not even work. Okay, so like, and to say that you're actually doing things, I know people that go to work every day and all they do is busy work. They're not creating shit. So the trick for me has been, hey, how uncomfortable am I going to be not being busy? And then I have to go, oh, wow, I have so much time I can read. Ooh, I'm not that disciplined. What am I reading? Trash. Ooh, I think I'm going to go out on a date. I'm bored. Like that would not be happening if I was running a business. Okay, shit, dude. I'm grinding 14 hours a day. I have 8 hours of work I can do for the guy I work for, which I never said anything about. I said work 80 hours a week buying Bitcoin. That's what I said. You're not going to be bored. Okay. Now, in my case, because I had some money, the more I look at my money, I'm like, why would I go put my money into another private deal that has human error risk, that requires the 2 founders to be there and hopefully they're alive, and they have to have a good attitude and they have to have good management skills. And maybe 12 years from now, some company buys it and I make a lot of money. But being in so many of these businesses, I mean, there is human error risk. I'm in an investment right now that if the main person died, like that business will get trashed. Okay, trashed because it's just key man risk. Bitcoin has no key man risk. So I'm saying do 2 things: mine fiat, and I'm saying that there's no better thing to do than create your own family Bitcoin reserve, whether it's $50 a week, a day, and you start stacking that. There's no damage to it because it's a forced investment program that will be better than a 401k. And you're going to wake up one day and go, oh man, my 401k turned into a private equity play. Because I believe that Bitcoin, everybody talks about Bitcoin topping out, and we will see another exponential for Bitcoin. And silver and gold are literally, that's why I use the example. If I was mining silver, I would be being interviewed every day. They'd be like, oh, look what he's doing, dude. Yeah, I would have had to raise $1 billion worth of capital, signed a bunch of contracts, been a member of a private or public entity. And and hopefully silver doesn't go down in price in the next 3 years. Y'all would be like, okay, let's do an interview. If I do my brother's getting invited to stuff at Pomp. Pomp's never asked me to go to anything. Grant starts buying real estate and Bitcoin, and he's getting interviews every day. Okay, I look at it and go, shit, I don't even have to do any interviews if I don't want to. I'm not gonna ever take my company public again. So because it's me, why would I want my family to be public? If it's good for Michael Saylor, if it's good for a Naka or a Metaplanet or any of these guys, it's got to be good for a family, right? So that's my point. Wow, I see people investing in these SBRs, and I'm like, hey, why don't you just put Bitcoin on your balance sheet, your own balance sheet?
That's a no-brainer.
Rocket Mob. See, Bitcoin has no key man risk. This is a hugely important thing. If you've ever had an investment in anything, you have key man risk.
I mean, if you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears, and you're not accumulating it, you're putting it in fiat, you're a fucking moron, right? Like I don't think there's a lot of argument there. The question is it still valuable, right, and worthwhile to go and strive and build and build on Bitcoin, right? Build on the rails. There's if there's one component that, again, I fear for the Bitcoin community, like if there's one concern I have, it's the idea that it doesn't have to, right, because it's been so strong and early, that it doesn't have to evolve, that we don't have to build on it, that it doesn't have to remain a currency. I think that there's pieces that are still missing and need to be upgraded. And we need brilliant young entrepreneurs to drive that. And also to like collect their, I love the term FBR, by the way, Family Bitcoin Reserve is brilliant. But right, like, yes, go build your FBR. And if you're entrepreneurial minded, put up with the calls, put up with the travel, put up with the risk, because ultimately you're in better shape than Gary was when he had to go through it, because you can park the return on your efforts in something like Bitcoin. Can you imagine, Gary, if all of those, right, you probably wouldn't have had to do 6 companies if the first 2 you were able to put the return that you earned into something that held its value like Bitcoin does. So I don't want the message to be where I would find cause of debate is I would never discourage somebody, as awful as it can be, from being entrepreneurial and going after it. Because they will hit. They will hit.
Well, no, that's not true necessarily. I mean, the risk of building a business of your own is extreme. Okay, like you know, there's more NBA football and there's more. I don't know shit about sports, but if we think in terms of sports, I mean, you're more likely to be an NBA super athlete than you are an entrepreneur that exits. Now, there have been more billionaires made from these, but that's the only story you hear about the guys that really cracked it. Most people fail at these. It destroys their business. I see families that they didn't even see their dad for 20 years. So all I'm saying is the more I look at it, the most holistic business I can build today. But you keep going back to, hey, man, what are they doing with their creative time? Well, now that is very interesting, okay? Because you're saying that Bitcoin has so little requirements of what to do things, to push things around, that now you have all this time. That is exactly my point, man. It frees your time up to go do something else. And if you want to build a business, awesome. If you have that itch, you're going to have the itch. And I had the itch until I looked at the returns and went, dude, maybe I need to have the itch of discovering something else about me instead of just another business and another bunch of dumb meetings. So let's go to somebody else and see where they fall. I think it's an interesting discussion, and to not consider it in your life plan, even if it's a remote idea, to me, it's silly for Dana at 34 years old not to look at this and go, oh, wow, this is a real business. People just don't look at it as a real business. Joe, what do you think, Joe? If it's good for Michael Saylor, is it good for a family?
It's unquestionably good for a family, right? And I think one of the more interesting things is that the big benefit that strategy had was its cost of capital. And it still has the tremendous benefit of really low cost of capital, its access to public capital markets. One of the really intriguing things, and I'm curious about your guys' thoughts on this, is this idea of capping credit card interest rates at 10%. So we all know that Michael Saylor is obviously selling equity, and he has these preferred stocks in order to go and buy Bitcoin. One of the more popular ones that he's offering is Stretch, 11% dividends annually, paid monthly. If we cap credit card interest rates at 10%, then that means that your effective financing you could use to acquire Bitcoin is actually now lower than one of MicroStrategy's preferred stocks. And so essentially, you can run the exact same playbook that Strategy is running at the individual level for your family, right? meaning arbitraging between this 10% cost of capital that you have and Bitcoin's historical growth rate. Over the last, let's take a look here. And I know this is supposed to be a debate, but this is something that I hugely agree with. And so it's tough to take the other side and kind of steel man the opposite side. But over the last 5 years, 20% per year for Bitcoin. Over the last 6 years, 48%, 59% over 7 years, so on and so forth. And so long as you're buying at a decent level, which right now, as we were talking, Bitcoin had a huge short squeeze. Now it's above $96,000. You're going to be above your cost of capital most of the time. And so if you can stomach it, that presents an option to most families. But Dustin, I totally agree with you. Gary, what I thought you were saying initially was buy Bitcoin, do nothing. Buy Bitcoin, do absolutely nothing. Don't work, don't this, don't that. And there's Dustin, you brought up the spiritual component. Everyone needs that purpose. Everyone needs some sort of drive to get them out of bed in the morning. For a lot of people, it's building. For other people, it's providing. For other people, it's both. Whether, we're talking about an entrepreneur who really is driven to build something, to build a company, or somebody who's more than willing to go to work, clock in, clock out, and come, home to their family. We all have this itch, whatever it may be, to build or provide or do both. And so what I thought you were saying was buy Bitcoin, do absolutely nothing. Because then the question becomes, well, where does the money come from to purchase Bitcoin? But now that you've clarified, and Dustin, you did a good job in clarifying, I fully agree, right? I fully agree. I tend to think that one of the things I do believe that I do disagree with is that most people, and I don't know if this is an opinion you hold, is that a lot of people can be entrepreneurs, or most people can be entrepreneurs. It requires a specific kind of person to be an
This is my point, man.
Very much.
This is my point. Very few people are built for it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right. And this takes everything out of the machine that is risky in building a business. It's not present in Bitcoin. Look, I compare this to a Popeye's fried chicken, a KFC, a McDonald's, which, by the way, I would never own just ethically. I could not own that company ethically. Okay. But think about, you want $2.5 million for a McDonald's in a shitty area. So this is my point. Hey, you got $8,000. You can start packing your franchise. And don't tell me you can't make an extra $8,000. That's ridiculous to tell me that someone can't make $8,000. I'll pay somebody $8,000 to come and just take care of some trees for me this weekend. And there's so much business out there. All these immigrants leaving. Where do you think who's going to mow their grass, dude? Go mow the damn grass. Okay. If you're bored on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, I'm not talking about unplugging. See, I'm learning something right now because of Bitcoin. I'm stacking Bitcoin as ferociously as possible. By the way, I don't think the credit card thing, I think that's bullshit. You're not going to make Visa, MasterCard lower the rates. That's not happening.
And if it does happen, there's going to be a huge credit contraction because all of a sudden they won't have lines of credit available for like more than half of America. So,
oh, dude, there'll be so many suspensions on credit cards. It'll be amazing. Nobody's going to take that risk for 10%. It's ridiculous, dude. I'm not taking Billy Bob's credit risk for 10%. I got a note out to somebody for 8%. I think it's grossly underpriced because, they could die. They could fall. They could steal. They could go crazy. They could get bad drugs one night at a party. They could run into the wrong manager. There's just so many things that can happen.
I will, just for the sake of debate, while we get somebody else on, I'll just throw this out. If you're spending 80 hours a week buying Bitcoin, you're probably going to lose all your Bitcoin. Just saying. I've watched plenty of people who think they're going to trade their way up, who manage to trade their way down, which is right. Like if the argument is, listen, you could buy Bitcoin, that frees you to go chase your spiritual life, your artistic life, right? Your business life, your productive life. I'm all for that. Mm-hmm. I would caution because of how many friends I've had who manage to be early and still screw it up by overthinking it, which is right. Like, it's not something that requires 80 hours a week. Like, buy it, hold it, wait for years, get your return. So I would not. It's I think that's the advantage we're talking about, right? Which is when it frees your time to pursue other things, and for that, it's really a blessing.
Yeah. It's being the superior store of value that it is. It makes it so that you can bring those dreams that you may have otherwise had, in retirement, 65, to much sooner in the future, right? If we're talking about the average annual growth rate of the S&P 500, 7 to 9% for the last several decades. If we're looking at Bitcoin, comparing it, it easily 3 to 10x is that over multi-year periods. And so it's kind of this beautiful set it and forget it tool where all of these invisible hidden forces that seek to kind of destroy your life force, destroy your energy, take away your wealth, through taxation, through inflation, et cetera. You don't have to worry about those things because you have this monetary instrument that's perfectly designed to hedge against those. And so you could focus on the things that really matter instead of worrying long-term about what am I going to do? How am I going to send the kids to college, whatever it may be. You can bring your desires into the here and now instead of waiting for them. That's the power of Bitcoin. Looks like you're muted, Dana.
Gary, thank you. Gary, if you're using 80 hours a week to buy Bitcoin, what would be the best way to do that?
Well, I didn't say that you were doing 80 hours a day to buy Bitcoin. I was saying that no one works. Anyone that speaks to me about not being 22 years old or 32 or 42 or 52 and says, hey, I can't start over. I can't, I don't buy any of it. Okay. If you have that attitude, you most certainly are the perfect player for Bitcoin because you're not going to be an entrepreneur with that attitude. Notice what somebody said. Hey, the creative itch, the entrepreneurial itch, you either have it or you don't have it. Most people should not run their own business. 99% of the people should not run a business, man. There are more followers than there are leaders. It's okay to be a follower. I was a follower for 17 years, man. I had to learn my shit. I worked around some really cool animals. It was part of my pay. Like I was learning. Okay, now later years in life, I'm looking around. Look, I called somebody up. I called Jeff Booth, who a lot of Bitcoin people know. I've got $7.5 million. $7.5 million. Call it 50,000. What is that? That's 1,000 Bitcoin or whatever. No, 100 Bitcoin or something. Mm-hmm. So I've got an investment in a private company it's a brilliant business. I own half of it or more. Called Jeff up and said, dude, I'm just going to buy the whole thing. I'm going to put Bitcoin on the reserve, but I'm going to do it properly. And this company is going to be awesome in 4 years. And he said, you're going to lose money relative to my options and you're going to lose your mind. Okay. Because I don't want to do it, but I could supercharge it, this business, if I want to do all the meetings. But guess what I'm not going to do? I ain't going to be doing this art, which I find interesting, which I'm probably going to end up turning into a business. It will be funny. It too will turn into something, but it's allowing me to focus. Bitcoin is allowing me to focus on, oh, wow, I need to read more. See, if you're going to do this, if you're not going to be disciplined, well, then you're not going to stack Bitcoin. I don't understand what Dustin's saying. You're going to lose all the Bitcoin. I'm talking about working my ass off in whatever field it is. If you do 80 hours a week, you will become a genius at it.
I think he was talking about the idea of trading in and out of Bitcoin.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Like less people are successful traders than there are entrepreneurs. I know 3 men on planet Earth that made a shitload of money trading their whole lifetime. And by the way, I know 0 who didn't have a colossal 2 or 3 years down. Colossal. Like embarrassing colossal, including myself. Because shit happens. See, I mean, you can't predict all these, especially commodities, and especially in this world. Like imagine owning a Popeye's fried chicken right now, knowing that you're getting all the FDA heat you could possibly get right now. You're going to have a boycott from America on bad food and probably not even chicken or hamburger. Right? I mean, I would be terrified with the risk. Imagine being in a pharmaceutical company right now and you woke up and go, oh, wow, dude, I'm participating with COVID-19 vaccines with my investment. Well, that's awesome, dude. You just keep it up. Or you could go buy some Raytheon stock and sit there forever and ever, right? So I'm just saying that this is a business, man. It is a franchise that has a massive marketing team getting bigger that you don't have to pay monthly premiums for. You have no insurance. Oh, by the way, this is better than having a life insurance policy for your family. I have a $52,000 life insurance policy from my State Farm that my mom gave me when I was 18. $52,000. What a waste of money. It was worth 52 grand when she gave it to me, and it's worth 52 grand a day. What would Bitcoin have been worth? That's a fucking insurance, dude. So I'm not buying insurance anymore, right? I'm going to just collect. If you believe in insurance, you should look at Bitcoin. Most certainly. Who's next? Who wants to hammer? Who tells me I'm wrong? All these young guys want to do a lot of work, so maybe somebody else can come up with a why not.
I'm going to bring Song up next because he might have a nuanced perspective. Can you give us a background? Song hasn't been on here before, so can you tell us where we can find you and what
Song,
you do?
Unmute and tell us who you are in your orange hoodie.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm Sung. I'm a co-founder of Bitcoin District Initiative. We're a 501c3 nonprofit focused on Bitcoin education and merchant adoption in the Washington, D.C. area. So you can find out more about us at bitcoindistrictinitiative.org or givebdi.org. We also hold multiple events at the new Bitcoin PubKey DC location. So if you're in town, feel free to say hi. In terms of this debate, it's a little different than I thought I was getting myself into, but an interesting place we're going. I do think one thing to note more from a higher level perspective, if you're trying to create a society, it's really important that people create value for other people, right? Because if you don't do that, then why do you have a society, right? You need to have incentives for people to actually want to create value that other people need or want, right? So you start from there. And so that's not just purely an altruistic reason. It's like you won't have a society if you don't have that incentive in the first place, right? The other thing I think, Gary, I actually do agree with you that especially if you're successful in something, you might have excess capital that you accrue. And then people get into danger when they go into things they don't understand, right? So that you see lots of examples of this. And so the bigger question would be, well, maybe you should stick to what you're good at that provides value to society that other people want. But if you do that and you create excess value, where do you store it? And you see these all the time. You have pro athletes decide to go into the restaurant business or something, right? Or you're a lawyer or a doctor, or you're successful in something and you decide to become a stock picker or running rentals on the side. Think that's passive. It's definitely not. So then the question I would think is Bitcoin provides a personal opinion that Bitcoin provides a valuable instrument in that that's where you can put your excess value and store it. And it's not relying on how good you are at it or not. And that's, you leave what's good for everyone else in society to do with things that they're good at, right? So like if I thought I was as an accountant or something, think I would be good at running a restaurant, I probably won't be. I'll just leave that up to people who are good at running restaurants. And so why am I using my capital or savings to invest in that? And I'll probably be bad at it. That's not actually good for society, right? The other area I do think that people run into danger is, what if they want to expand? Let's say they're successful and they want to expand, or things are changing, their industry is changing. Well, what do they do? Or they're trying to exit. What do they do for that? Well, again, Bitcoin can be that placeholder as well for that value. So I don't think this is necessarily a mutually exclusive discussion about, well, you could just buy Bitcoin. I just think of it as that's where you store your excess value. And that's probably better for society overall, because you're not doing something you're not good at.
See, and I would say that it is my primary investment vehicle. It is all I'm saying is that if you ever in the Bitcoin community ever got excited about what some of these 200-300 companies are doing, that if you were to look and compare building and running a business and all the risk associated with it, and just buying Bitcoin and being disciplined to find your whatever your deal is. Like if your deal is to build software solutions, awesome, dude. Build software solutions and you charge enough where you get 10%. I mean, if you guys aren't building a business and then grabbing some cash and putting it in your bank account, you're not building the business the way I build them. Okay. Now, in one of my businesses that I'll have made a couple $100 million in, I had to sell everything I owned, liquidated everything, including a $46,000 401k, which I just happened to find. And because I was never worried about these savings programs when I was building companies. I was like, dude, I don't rely on anyone else. I don't trust that anyone else is going to bring home the bacon. They don't, man. And all these businesses, 17 years to exit one. Okay, my brother, if he lives to be 100, he'll be in this Bitcoin public entity for a long time, dude. I don't have to have that stress. And by the way, do I really want to go to New York 32 times to meet with a bunch of slimy bankers? Entering into contracts that I do not even understand. If you're successful building a SaaS model, you'll end up with a client that is so large, they move you around like you're going to get on your knees and give them a blowjob every day because you're terrified to lose them. Okay. And then the sponsor that got you into the bank or into the business in the first place, he leaves to go on to move his career. Now he's running Coinbase or something else, and you lost your sponsor. And the new guy's like, well, that wasn't my idea. I'm not going to do this. And then you got to start all over. If you're lucky. And I've been through every one of these events, okay? Every one of these events. All I'm saying is that you can come work for me and make 120 grand a year, right, Dana? I do not pay anyone less than $10,000 a month because I know I'm going to have a problem. That's just me, okay? I'm not saying that's right. I see a lot of people go, no, you're going to earn every dollar. And I look at it and go, wow, 100 grand, man. I just buy, if I can afford a staff for 10 grand a month, I can afford to buy Bitcoin. Plus now AI, all you builders, dude, you're doing AI. Every time you add AI and you reduce your head count and you reduce your overhead, you should be smashing that fuel into another vehicle. That does require discipline, by the way. 4 to 8 years. You must hold this position for 4 to 8 years, which destroys any kind of investment you can make in your own business and be able to liquidate, monetize without hooks. Okay, hooks in every orifice. And most people don't even exit with the exit they thought they were going to exit. Ask any guy that exited. Hey, man, you exited for $300 million. How much did you really get? Because it wasn't $300 million. It was $300 million paid over 10 years or 3 years, and they had to sign an NDA, and they couldn't compete. They might have lost an opportunity. Their lives are on hold. So you exit a business and like you can't do anything for 2 years. What are you doing? Are you walking around in Vegas gambling and doing hookers? If you are, then cool. You're just going to go do that anyway. I mean, that's not about what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's at 34 years old, someone not looking at this and just saying, okay, I'm going to go and build another business. I'm like, why would you build another business? Just do what you're doing that makes money, but multiply it. Multiply the time you're spending. I don't think people can be great at 4 things. I can't, dude. Like Elon Musk doesn't have much of a life. I mean, hey, you don't want to be me. Okay, so I'm not qualified to be Elon. So like, I don't know why people just don't stick their nose into what they really know and they become freaking awesome at it instead of diversifying their skills. I'll do a little of this. I'll do a little of that. I'll do a little of this. Well, guess what? You're going to just be doing a little of everything, and you're going to get crushed by somebody that's doing a lot.
I mean, I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, Gary. Like, right?
The more we talk it through, see, it does. Because it's really counterintuitive. We have been taught to do. Like, I can see Joe going, no, dude, I'm a doer, dude. I'm a doer, man. And which is awesome. Okay. But like to be able to do, Like if I picked up a shovel today and I shoveled every day, I would become a great shoveler, man. But my first couple of pitches is going to be ugly. Okay. I do not know how to use a shovel properly. But I see people with machines that can fold a t-shirt with that machine because they've done it over and over and over and over again. To me, that's really, really cool. Now, it's stupid. It's a stupid analogy, but it's absolutely cool. And I would rather be brilliant at two things, and Bitcoin affords me to be brilliant at least at one thing, which is whatever I like to do. And there's no minimum on this franchise. It's $80, $800, 80,000. Like that's the other cool thing. Anyone can play the game.
No employees, no payroll, no HR, no inventory, none of it.
Keep going, dude. It's so many. Oh my God, there's so many. Not one of you people understand the agreements you've signed and all the deals you've done. Okay, you don't. You do not. There's a comma that somebody left off, and in a law room, dude, they'll make so much hay out of that comma.
Lawyer hell.
We have a couple more guests. I'm going to bring Mike up. Mike, can you tell us, you've been on here before, but can you tell us your background? Yeah. And he has a lot to say about this topic. So I'm going to let you give your background.
Sure. Yeah. Good to see you, Dana. Gary as well. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a while. Yeah, I love this conversation. It's fantastic. It really gets at, I think, the essence of Bitcoin itself and what it allows people to do. Yeah, my background is I was in IT, sysadmin for a long time. That was my career until about a year and a half ago when I decided to leave it and explore better pastures. But I found Bitcoin, back in 2017 and didn't know much about it. But then as I learned more and just got more invested into the space, it became pretty clear to me the value proposition of it and how it changes lives truly. It kind of made me start thinking, about my life long term, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, that my goals in life. And, the conclusion that I kept coming back to was, I felt like all of my time was getting taken away pursuing a job and a career and having to make a living, like most people. But I found myself valuing my time and having the optionality of what I want to do with it more so once I found Bitcoin. And, as I took that journey further and further, it just solidified my mind that the most important thing to me is the only thing more scarce than Bitcoin is our time on this earth. And, you want to maximize it doing the things that you love with the people you love as much as you can. And I think that's what it's about. And, ultimately this conversation kind of becomes a philosophical one, I think, with how you view Bitcoin and just what you decide to do with your time and your energy that you're given. And, a lot of great points made by everyone so far. I've been listening for quite some time, but, the point about how do we choose what to do in our life? Gary's talking about pursue the things that you're really good at. Yes. And a lot of people spend a lot of time or most of their time just trying to figure out what it is that they want to do. They get up every day, they go to a job, they give it away their time. And then they, the weekend comes and they just kind of do nothing. And it's this cycle over and over and over. And what Bitcoin forces you to do once you understand it is you realize that you don't have to spend all this time trying to figure out what the next thing is that I need to do, this next business, this next venture. Do I want to trade here and there to make some extra money? It's like, no, the answer is right there. It's just put all your extra invested capital into Bitcoin and let it do the work for you. It's giving you your time back. And I see this a lot with younger people, early 20s, especially. They get into working and they have all this ambition. They have all this drive and motivation. They want to be the greatest at what they're doing. And they end up spending many, many hours, their entire life force pursuing these things that, can change on a whim. You can get fired at your job, your business, your market that you're in could change dramatically. and now everything that you've built goes, basically down, and you have to figure out, well, how do I climb back out? How do I pivot? I've been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever it is, and then now I have to figure out what I have to reinvent myself, right? And while Bitcoin is just sitting there the whole time, continuing to compound, continuing to grow, and you don't have to be an expert. You just have to understand the fundamental basics of it, and it does all the work for you. And so, to the overall business conversation, do you pursue a business? Do you pursue these other things instead of just buying Bitcoin? I think it really comes down to how well do you understand yourself and what it is. What are the goals you have with your life? Do you want to spend 17 hours a day pursuing your career and your livelihood and doing all that, or do you want to get time back and spend it with your kids, spend it with your family, travel? Everybody has to make that decision on what's worth it. And I think, Bitcoin at the center of it makes you question those things for your own life. And I think that's what the beauty of it is. And, do I think Bitcoin itself is a business? I don't know that it is a business for the average person. I think it is a way to challenge where you spend all your time. I think a lot of most businesses fail. I don't know what the statistic is, but a lot of startups fail. People spend all this time, they build something, and then
it's hellacious. The number is hellacious. Okay, it's in the high 90s.
Yeah. So you're probably going to fail, and you're going to fail a bunch of times. So how much resources are you going to put into that? How many skills, how many people do you need to hire? How many things do you have to do right continuously for a long time to be successful? And I think what is really challenging these days is all the waste that's out there in people pursuing things, businesses that already exist 1,000 times over. You're just trying to be your mom and pop shops are great, but those struggle. And how much is it worth it to put your entire life force into one of those things when you could just put it into Bitcoin, let it grow, live your life, get your time back, and spend it where you want to, rather than this constant treadmill of pursuing the corporate life or the trying to make a living every day for your entire life. And I think at its core, that's what Bitcoin allows us to do, and challenges the status quo in life and this very standard way of living that people have done for 40, 50 years. So that's my long-winded entry.
So, Mike, how has your life changed when you started thinking about Bitcoin in that way, before and after? Like, what do you do in your day? Like Gary likes to paint, read.
Yeah, well, I think
How does your day change?
It made me evaluate: do I continue getting up and going to work 8 hours a day for the paycheck, or do I try to get time back to spend it with friends or family or experiences in life that were getting taken away from me, working 40, 50, 60, 80 hours a week? And, I had to make that personal decision. Could I continue that career? Could I continue growing, for the paycheck, let that grow for numbers for some reason? Or was it more important for me to have the freedom? Because ultimately it comes down to, I want to be able to get up every day whenever I want, go do the things I want, pursue my health, the gym, the things that are truly important in life, not this just endless treadmill of quote unquote kind of greed or try to get to the finish line of I got to ascend all this way up the corporate ladder, or do these accomplishments, or try to do all these things that people find themselves getting trapped in. And so, yeah, my biggest focus, once I realized what Bitcoin was at its core, was I need all my time back. I need my freedom. I want the flexibility and optionality to spend it how I want to, not being forced to, because that's what society tells us to do.
So for everybody who's been early in Bitcoin, isn't there some level of obligation not to allow the complete centralization of the rest of society? Right. So like I constantly get that, which is Bitcoin's so good, right? It's provided so much opportunity. Why would I screw around with mom and pop shops? Why would I screw around investing in businesses that are, likely to fail, that are going to be difficult? Right? You do it because the same underlying principles apply to life in general. Like if Bitcoin orders just completely withdraw, right? Like, and we don't take the blessings of the wealth that we've received as being part of Bitcoin to like spread the underlying, like decentralization, right? As we come into this surveillance state, again, Bitcoiners need to be investing in things like communication channels and media, right? There's Bitcoin was a revolution because it was the first time in my life that we addressed one of the actual underlying problems that plagued society, that made people enslaved to a terrible system. But it's not the only one. And if we centralize into Bitcoin, right, we're losing out on protecting ourselves in all the other places that we're vulnerable. Because at some level, if we have a complete and totally bought media, social media algorithms are all about behavioral modification, and we allow for the complete centralization of agriculture and distribution, right? Like, did we win the revolution and just completely, because you're still vulnerable, right? Like at some level, Bitcoin can protect you financially, but if the rest of society is burning down around you because the opportunities dried up and the only money available is to go work a slave job at freaking Amazon for, right, like grinding at 12 hours a day at $17 an hour or whatever it is, right? At some level, the collapse everywhere. Like, I believe that we've been given a blessing and we owe it to spread those underlying principles like decentralization to other industries and completely withdrawing. Even if you take a financial hit, like count your blessings that you've been put in this position to bless others and give them an opportunity to go fail. Because I've seen people fail, I've seen them pick themselves up, and then I've seen them do something that actually changes the world. And right, like I don't mind investing in people that I know are working, whether it works out or not. And I think we owe it. I think we have an obligation for the blessing that we've received to make sure that the rest of society doesn't collapse. Like, I want Gary to like give other people the opportunity, like his art, to open up the opportunity for other people to pursue art and find the same level of satisfaction. I want the people who are interested, like Jack Dorsey is a good example, right? He's trying to solve, after Twitter got taken over by the feds post 2016. It's another great story and tangent, right? He's refocused on trying to build something that allows people to communicate out being trained by the algorithm on, like, oh well, here's your little cookie, Pavlov's dog, right? Like you're talking about whatever the psyop of the day is, you'll get likes. Oh, you're talking about something that is revolutionary, like nobody's interested. So he's trying to create that with like his next venture on trying to make sure that we preserve these other elements of society. I don't think we can overlook everything else but Bitcoin, and it requires us being willing to risk and to lose in order to build those things out.
I agree with you, Dustin. And I think that gets at the core of, what I was saying is it gives people the freedom and the ability to pursue those things if they so choose in life, in a way that you really never could before. I have plenty of friends, people I know that, they get up, they go to work, they spend all their time doing that. They're so tired when they get home that they just sit on the couch, watch Netflix, then their weekends, they're doing everything else other than trying to figure out what their true purpose is and try to like do something awesome with their life. And it's just this constant week over week, month over month, year over year thing. And all of a sudden they wake up and their life's passed them by. And, I completely agree that if people understood that Bitcoin could be a way out, or if they just started thinking that, you get one shot at this life. So you might as well use it to do really cool things, try to make things better for people. And I think as Bitcoiners, in a lot of ways we do. We kind of have this obligation in many ways to take what we've been given, not without risk, or down, ups and downs, but we've been given an opportunity to really bring great things to the world in a way that not very many people can. And and I think naturally people want purpose. I wake up every day thinking about, what could I do? What thing could I pursue? And I'm constantly thinking about ideas because I just naturally want to do that. I don't want to just live away my life and do nothing. That's not the purpose. It's now I have the freedom to actually pursue those things and try to build something or do something great for people. And I think that's what it's about. And the discussion of, do people start a business or not? Again, that's where the purpose comes from. I think a lot of people do it for basically two reasons. They have to for a livelihood, or they're really passionate about what they're trying to accomplish. And you have to understand the difference between those and why you're actually doing it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, good point. We got somebody else down there, don't we? Don't we have
we do.
Norman?
Shams, can you make a strong argument, even though you work in Bitcoin,
Yeah.
that Bitcoin is not a business? It's not the best business in the world.
I guess you can you could say it's not the best business on the basis that it requires it requires users, it requires people to be involved in the network. Bitcoin without users, it's just another sort of protocol that goes unused. But sort of what.
But Norman, we have 400 million supposed users. Cut that in half. Got 200 million users. That is a large addressable market. That is.
Well, it's still, in terms of where the internet is, it's still in terms of like the sort of correlation between internet adoption and Bitcoin adoption, where broadband was in terms of adoption. So there's still a lot of room to grow for Bitcoin. And we're in this sort of sweet spot where, it can be a hit or miss period, where, again, this is devil's advocate, where maybe, legislation isn't so Bitcoin friendly, right? And we go sort of stablecoin, central bank digital currency route, and a more sort of controlling censorship route. Ideally, that's not the case, but it is a possibility if, a certain sort of regime comes into place. So, but personally, what drew me into Bitcoin was being able to, kind of do what I'm passionate about, right? Focus on my creativity. In my family history, we've had restaurants, we've had several different types of businesses. So to kind of have this sort of backing, this financial backing, kind of allowed me to, hone in on what I'm passionate about. So currently, being a part of the PubKey team, so, but again, the devil's advocate part is pretty tricky, but we are very early on in the stage for Bitcoin. So it was just a little tricky intro, but.
See, so what just to elaborate on the point, because people are talking about stable coins, and rightfully so. They have the ability to become CBDCs, right?
Yeah.
The programmability is built in.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love most about Bitcoin is the community of people.
Mm-hmm.
I have never been anywhere or surrounded by such a diverse group of people who also are smart and passionate about things that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And my fear when I hear this stuff, take the CBDCs, for example. This community should see itself as being needs to take a leadership role
Mm-hmm.
in other aspects besides just finance. We need decentralized media. We need to cut the same way that we like finally beat the fiat money system by building a superior alternative. We need to apply that in government and lobbying and fundraising and media, right? There's so much shit that is broken for the same reasons that fiat currency was broken, that the Bitcoin, the fact that we got this piece of it figured out, like lends hope to that we could fix these other areas. But if we just withdraw and say, you know what, I don't need to do anything but Bitcoin because Bitcoin is so stable and so solid, it's almost like we are hamstringing ourselves from our own success.
Mm-hmm. And the Genius Act is a sort of Trojan horse to establishing CBDCs. So that you know, the fact that the Treasury can issue, you know, monetary units to something like Tether or Coinbase or other stablecoin issuers is, you know, it's a sort of Trojan horse that can be used for nefarious reasons, and that is something I'm keeping an eye on personally.
Right, but if the Bitcoin community started to flex their political muscles,
Mm-hmm.
do you know how cheap these politicians are? Right,
Yeah.
like my background in politics, I can tell you, like they are cheaper than most strippers at like strip, right? Like and not like the nice strip club, like the down ho. Like you can get, if Bitcoiners started to really organize, like the ability to stomp out things like the Genius Act and to bring around and protect like ourselves, and not just ourselves, because I think Bitcoiners have created the escape for themselves, but it doesn't matter if every one of your neighbors is enslaved in a surveillance state, right? And their money is being programmed. Everything else falls apart all around us. And so like I just want to see Bitcoiners, right, like use that leadership, use the experience, the ups and downs of like actually turning over a problem as big as fiat currency and apply it to the other big areas. And that's what I'm looking to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dustin, one thing that you bring up, I do see this working with small business. Clearly small business, they don't have access to good bank loans or especially the capital markets. And so they don't really have a level playing field. And so what ends up happening is the bigger companies just get bigger. That's why you see a lot of chain restaurants expand. And so one thing that we're doing with the Bitcoin District Initiative is educating merchants and not just accepting Bitcoin payments, but saving it and why you should. Because if you look at the balance sheet of these a lot of these smaller companies, they don't really have much assets. They might own the land, but not necessarily a lot leased, for example. And so really the only collateral they have if they run into a downturn is just the promise of future income. And so there's not that many people willing to lend to them, right? But if they had a hard asset, or they can just squirrel away whatever they made that week and build up, like Bitcoin, and build up an asset base as collateral, it builds resiliency. So I sort of view it as a way to level the playing field to help, because right now I would like to live in a pure capitalistic society, but we're not really there, because what ends up happening is if you have a bigger companies that just get bigger because they're access to fiat currency. But the reason why they're able to get so much cheaper borrowing and financing is because of fiat currency printing, right? And so to me, that's not a level playing field. So hopefully this could help level the playing field. And that's just, I know that's more of a finance angle, but that's just one aspect of why I think you start seeing concentration and growth. And I think it will get worse when you have AI come into play as well.
This is exactly my point, Song, is that, and I see people making comments about it's not money. I didn't say anything that it was money. When I build a business, it's not money either. It's either a service or something of value that I have to pitch, and I have to find my little space in the market. I have the ability for the first time in my life. Look, the world we live in is not a free market world. Every industry that you participate in is controlled by no more than 3 companies. And control, I mean 60% is shared between 3 companies. Once 3 companies own 60% of the market, it is controlled by that oligopoly. There's not enough pressure from the other 40% to actually put any kind of tension into the market and make it fair. So I have the ability to buy a percentage of a franchise I call a monopoly that y'all refer to as Bitcoin. It's a monopoly, man. It's a monopoly, and I'll never get a DOJ letter over my participation in a monopoly because they're not going to like this monopoly. They love Visa, MasterCard's duopoly. They love the big pharma, and watch what's going to happen. You're going to have 4 companies go bankrupt over all these lawsuits, and the big pharma world is going to like transform. I know people, like I'm surprised more people haven't brought up the volatility issue with Bitcoin as a gangster way of going, hey, you should not have that business. Well, if you own United Healthcare, big company that can't fail, they lost 48% of their stock in 3 days 4 months ago. And they're going to go through it again because it's a fraudulent company, man. Okay. You're going to see them writing prescriptions and not writing prescriptions and not paying out the insurance. And they're going to get sued forever and ever. The electricity companies are a cartel. Okay. The funny thing is the energy business is the most open market in the world because you can't stop oil. You can't, and Trump and everybody before him have placed tariffs on shit. It never works. All it does is creates a spread between Indian oil and Russian oil and however you label it, but people are just discounting the oil and moving it around, putting a different label on it, and oil is going to flow no matter what you do to it. So I look at Bitcoin and go, wow, I can buy into a monopoly. I have no human error risk. All I have to do is hold it for 8 years, and I will get a exceedingly awesome return. And to think that I can build a business in 8 years and achieve the same results as a return versus all the hair that comes with that business. And by the way, when I buy Bitcoin, I don't share it with my partner. This was the reason I had to, if I was going to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet of a company, I'm like, shit, I have to own the whole company because the shareholders aren't going to do what I do. I wanted to put 50% of the capital in the company with Bitcoin. I'm like, all the other 2,800 shareholders can do it. Now I have to buy all those guys out so I can control it, because if they don't put in as much Bitcoin ratio wise as I do, I'm getting diluted. Why would I do that? Shit, Gary, why are you doing any of that? Just do your FBR, bro. Stack as much Bitcoin in self-custody, stack as much Bitcoin in an ETF, if that's the way I have to do it, stack it in whatever. And then I start going, no SBRs for me. Okay. I went off into the land and I'm like, oh, why would I invest in an SBR like MicroStrategy or Naka when I can just buy Bitcoin? Like, why would I do that? Right? It's really bizarre, because as soon as I buy a MicroStrategy or Naka, I have human error risk. And that human error risk isn't just about Fong Lee and David Bailey and Michael Saylor. It's also about how the public markets respond, how Wall Street decides to pitch this, if they want to dump the stock one day. Like, there's a lot of human error risk that, like, I could tell you so many stories about blowing up companies and then having to spend another 4 years fixing it. Or how about the time that I was really a gangster in the United Kingdom, crushing it, and I got a phone call. Hey, you can't do that deal, or you're going to be, your passport's going to be exiled. Like, wow, I moved my whole life to London. I lost a marriage because of it. I got 600 people working for me now, and they're telling me they're going to throw me out of the country if I do a deal. Wow, that ain't going to happen with Bitcoin. So all I'm saying is that I think people Well, I know people. Almost every whale has made this mistake. Almost every whale has made this mistake. In fact, I think every one of them have made it. I think so much money has been lost this year from smart whales getting too smart. And they've moved into SBRs with $30 Bitcoin, and now they have, well, in my case, on NOC, I have zero. I mean, it's just going to be a total wipeout. Buy something for $1.20, $1.20 or $1.40, and it's worth 42 cents today. So, like, when I do that, I'm like, why did I do that? I could have just bought Bitcoin, man. What am I thinking? Right? The issue I think that really comes up is what everyone has said in a roundabout way. It's the time. Like somebody said, hey, Gary is doing his art because he really enjoys it. Dude, I hate it. Are you kidding me? But by hate, I mean, I'm not used to not being in meetings. I'm not used to wasting my time going to a meeting for 4 hours. Somebody asked me to go to the round table in Dubai. I'm like, and I love all these guys, okay? But I'm like, other than me wanting to clean some dirty Bitcoin that I found, what reason is there for me to go? I know all these guys. I can pick the phone up to them. And it's not about the expense. It's about the time. It's going to take me 6 days, man. And by the way, I will not experience the tension of doing this painting because I am trying to prove something, which is, oh, wow, I have a business idea. I have an idea. It requires me to commit to that idea. This has worked for me every time building a business. This thing may not be a business, but I have to be committed to the tension. Do you know how many meetings I have been to selling fraud or natural gas opportunities or crude oil opportunities or electricity opportunities, and would go to 13, 14, 100 meetings and then figure out, oh, wow, I'm pitching the wrong thing, and then had to deviate or pivot. So, and that's what y'all call volatility of Bitcoin. And I'm like, wow, dude, like it takes me 3 years to build a reputation in an industry. 3 years. Like you guys know me. You know me because, I spent money going to the Bitcoin conference. I started meeting people, right? I was spending money learning about this industry. And it was my investment. I can only invest in so many things. Look, one thing I do know for sure, concentrated investments, highly speculative, well thought through, risk managed investments is the only way people get super rich unless you inherit money. It is absolutely the only way you get super rich, okay? You build something. And by the way, between when you were building it and when you got all successful, there's a lot of shit that goes on. Now, did I learn a lot? Yes, I did. I learned a massive amount. But do you know how many people spent 20 years competing with me and they learned nothing? They're still working at Marathon. Okay, they didn't take the plunge. Bitcoin allows me to really focus a lot of energy into one or two areas. And I don't think anybody's going to bet against Gary Cardone if I go, hey, dude, I'm totally focused on this. Like who's going to bet? They're going to go, hey, if he's really disciplined, he will most certainly become a decent artist. Well, if you're really disciplined, right, that means I don't need to worry about what the stock price of Bitcoin's doing every day. You can't tell me what your private company, Mike, you can't tell me what that company you were working for was worth when you were working for them, right? You can't. Hey, when am I going to exit? Unless if you're the owner, you can't even tell when you're going to exit, much less when you're going to pay off the employees that have been working there for 3 years. And then Mike's like, I can't leave, dude. I got 3 years into this deal. Then I have 4 years into it. Oh, I can't leave. Hey, get another job offer. Well, he didn't offer me enough stock options. Stock options don't pay off for 3+ years. The vesting rights, like the more I go through this and just talk it through, it's like, wow, Bitcoin is absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable, really, really, because it has no human error risk. I do not wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, they're selling opiates. Oh my God, they've just built a weapon to kill people, dude. Like I don't have any of those issues. Oh, the CEO got caught in bed with his secretary on TV. You remember that cat? Oh shit, I had an investment in Budweiser and Target, and they completely went rainbow on us. I own Enron and don't realize, oh shit, man, it's a monster Ponzi scheme. And everybody on Wall Street was like, you got to be in Enron. Okay. Now, what's the difference between Enron and Bitcoin? There is no Jeff Skillings and Ken Lay. There is no Jeff Skillings and Ken Lay, man. The worst we're going to bitch about is the core versus non-core group. I mean, that's silly, right? I cannot see another business that's better than this. Family Bitcoin Reserve Company. If it's good for these big companies, how much money, Joe, do you know how much money's been raised by all these public entities that have converted? It's got, Sailor alone has raised what?
51 million. Yep.
So Naka raised 750 million.
I just realized that my mic has been off this entire time. Yeah, tens of billions of dollars between all of them, particularly last year. Like the amount of deals that were happening around the March to September timeframe last year were completely insane. Now imagine if you were able to, at the individual level, relative to your income, relative to your assets, put that amount of Bitcoin on your family's balance sheet. How transformative that could be. Someone just commented cash flow question mark. I think this goes back to what we were talking about.
Because I wanted you to respond, because everybody says this. Hey, no, there's no cash flow on Bitcoin. There's no cash flow on building a private business either, dude. Yeah. Only cash out.
Exactly. The point is, comparing assets to invest your time in, because ultimately that's what you're doing when you're investing your money into something. You're investing your time because you earn that money. It's comparing the effort that is supposed to go into the asset versus the expected return. And when we're comparing, the core of this debate, mostly discussion, but semi-debate here, is that rather than or in addition to building a business or investing in a startup, it would behoove you to allocate aggressively to Bitcoin because of the superior risk reward profile. If you are an entrepreneur and building a company, saving in Bitcoin can be hugely utilitarian, whether or not the company succeeds or fails. If you are a normal 9-to-5er, purchasing Bitcoin, again, can be hugely advantageous to you because it appreciates faster than any asset that you could purchase out there, any major macro asset that you could purchase. It has a tremendously opportune risk reward profile. So when we talk about cash flow, that could be your income, that could be the business you're starting, that could be the business that you have, that could be the real estate you own. Bitcoin is merely a complement to that. It doesn't have cash flow in and of itself, but the idea is that saving in Bitcoin will allow you to pull forward your financial goals much sooner than not. So, ultimately, when comparing businesses to Bitcoin, we're not talking about the cash flow component necessarily. We're talking about how quickly Bitcoin can appreciate relative to the amount of effort that you need to put into it and how it completely trounces starting most businesses.
Yeah. So again, to the cash flow thing, I'd like to know where the cash flow is for any of you guys that are building something. I'm sure all of y'all are building right now. Is there lots of cash flow? And then also, why do you want the cash flow? This is what my brother did. He was like, no, the people that invest in real estate, they want the dividends every month. I'm like, and what are they doing with the dividends? They're buying bullshit with it. They're buying cars. Okay. Because it's disposable income, cash flow. I need to sell it. I need to use it. That's not a savings plan, man. Okay. You don't have that opportunity in a business. Oh, wow. Let's see. I just hired 13 people for $100,000 each. I'm in at 1.3 million. I get to pay them $100,000 a month. Okay. $110,000 a month. And then, where's my cash flow? It went to them. I'm investing in people. I'm investing in these people to do what I'm asking them to do, assuming they imagine what I'm actually trying to create, assuming their minds are all clear and they show up to work every day like they're really excited working for Gary Cardone. Until I say one thing about their party or COVID, and then they're like, we don't really like Gary so much. Got some human error now, right? They all of a sudden, or Google hires them away. And Google can pay them whatever they want. Like the more I think about it and really compare what my options are, these are options for me. And people are making this really complicated going, oh, I need another business. Well, why don't you just do the business that you got, do it better? Because no one is going to bet behind me if they go, hey, Gary really will put 6 hours. Now, I don't think I can put 6 hours a day into this art. Okay, I don't think I can. I don't think I'm disciplined enough, but I do believe that 6 hours a day doing anything, you're going to become really good at it. If you do it 2 years, 3 years, right? So really, you're going to bet against that? I would invest in that guy. Actually, I would invest in that guy. I wouldn't bet against him. I'd be like, in fact, if someone invested in the idea, I would work the 6 hours, because then I'd feel so like guilty and ashamed for letting anybody down. I'd be like, hey, dude, people are starting to invest in this idea. I must do my 6 hours. You know, I don't know anyone that's gone to their deathbed and said they read enough books, or I read too many books. I spent too much time dreaming. I spent too much time imagining a great world. I don't know anybody that dies, man, saying, hey, shit, man, I really did not go to that job enough. You know, I really should have spent more time at JP Morgan. Can you imagine being Jamie Dimon? I think the longer Jamie Dimon stays at JP Morgan, the dumber I think the guy is. Because you would think he would be like, wow, dude, that guy's got everything. He has done one thing for 30 years, man. I would be so fucking bored. Okay? It's not JP Morgan. It's the Jamie Dimon show. So to me, that's not a big creative thing. And by the way, there's going to be a lot more guys like me that are Jamie Dimon, and they're like, dude, I don't want to go do another event. And this is going to rip Bitcoin's face off, because the more people, look, I'm always early with my really weird thoughts. Every time I've made some money, it's been like, okay, I'm like 3 years ahead of people. Not that I'm ahead. I'm willing to go where my thesis takes me. And no one can give me an answer of why building anything is better than stacking Bitcoin. I mean, stacking it like you're you know, building you're building an armory for your neighborhood. Stacking it like it's all I do. Just bang in some Bitcoin. Do anything I can to bang in some Bitcoin.
Are you going to be able to compound that business at 30% a year for the next decade? Probably not.
What business?
Any business. Right? Like that's the question is like, how much time, sweat, tears, blood, all the stuff am I going to put into it, and for what?
Exactly.
But people don't start with a giant stack, right? Most people don't. And so I think we were talking earlier, the idea that you have to find something that other people value. And so you trade your labor for that. And that allows you.
His mic is echoing. I don't know whose it is. Okay.
And hopefully that value exceeds your living expenses. And so therefore you can save, and you save in Bitcoin. And then what happens later on over time, and maybe you do achieve the point where you can be financially independent and not work anymore and focus on other activities, or take more risks. You can take more risks when like maybe a job change, or just focus on hobbies. So but it's like a timeline, right? You don't start at a stack. And so there needs to be some, I would think most people would have to start working in something or start a business in something. But I do agree, Gary, like when you get to a point where maybe you're already financially independent and you're looking to expand or go into other things. That's where a lot of people get tripped up. They're like really successful in one thing. You want to then get into real estate and you have no idea what you're doing there, or start a restaurant or go into some private equity deal. That's where people lose, because they think they're good at one thing, they're good at other things, but maybe not, right? They're probably not as good in those other endeavors. And so Bitcoin is where the excess goes for savings, and then that can give you that freedom later. So I do think there's that timeline that we should be thinking about, because no one's gonna really start with a big stack, right? They have to create value to get that.
And
Yeah, I disagree that you need a big stack though to start it. Look, you don't have a big stack of clients when you start a business, right? You got to go get them. So whether it's this is the point I'm trying to make. You cannot buy a Popeyes fried chicken franchise. Okay, you can, but it's going to cost you $2.5 million and a shitload of contracts. Oh, by the way, it will take you 6 months to get the franchise and all the legal documents, and you don't know shit about managing people, much less people that have no education whatsoever and don't want to be there, and you're going to probably get sued by them. So people talk about, hey, they look at me and look, for instance, it is no more easier for me to buy 50 more Bitcoin than it is for anybody here to buy one. It's not easier for me, dude. I have to go find the money just like you do. Okay, I'm at zero. I mean, if you saw what's in my bank account, it's not like it's just stacked with fucking $100 notes just like piled up. And I go, hey, I think I'm going to tag some of that fiat and go buy Bitcoin. I have to go. It pisses me off when people go, yeah, but you're rich, man. You could, dude, I don't have any Bitcoin right now. I need to go get some. And once I've identified this as the lowest risk private equity position I can put on without no human irritation or risk on my part, including my own risk. To his point, you go, jump into some other business. This is what most guys do. They exit a business and then they invest with their buddy and they lose it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm a little older than most of you guys. I have lost so much money. So I see Dustin doing this. Dude, I have lost so much money on ideas. All y'all see is the success, but it's like, oh yeah. I mean, my ex-wife used to go, dude, like, do you have $100,000 out with like 30 people? They're like, probably. Over my lifetime, I mean, if you come beg me for some money, I'm probably going to give it to you. If you hit me up enough times, I'm like, okay, I'll help you out. I like helping people. But, I look at it today and I'm like, I have an obligation, talking about Dustin, I have an obligation as an adult who's probably suffered more losses than anybody here to go, what, dude, I found something that's awesome. I mean, I think what my brother's doing is awesome. But I think what I'm doing is super awesome because I don't have anyone to report to. I'm not having to raise money. I am not going to share this with anyone. It's me owning 100% of my business. If your business gets successful, you will give out stock. You'll give out options. You'll have to. And now you've given out expectations. They want to be like, okay, I'm going to exit here in 3 years, but you can't. It's just, to me, it's fascinating because it's literally about what are my options? And I don't think people have many options.
And another important thing, though, is kind of building the conviction to go through those bear markets. Like, had I sold at my first bear market, I would have sold everything at $3,000 Bitcoin. So to build that sort of conviction in Bitcoin,
you have to treat it exactly the same way you treat building a business. You ain't exiting shit for 3 years. You don't exit for 4 years. You go I am here for 8, because 8 is 4 years shorter than your equity exit's going to be, assuming you get lucky. I mean, assuming you get incredibly lucky and you're traveling all over the place to meet people. Okay. Like all over the place to meet people. Now, I've traveled all over the place to meet the Bitcoin community, but it was allowing me to build my thesis. Okay. Looking around going, what are people doing? What are people doing? Oh, wow. They don't get this, huh? Why is strategy so cool? Strategy hit the market first and fill the gap between the people that understood Bitcoin and the people that did not. Like the Norwegian pension fund. They were never going to buy Bitcoin, man, but they could access Bitcoin through MicroStrategy. That kind of play, now he's going to have to grind it out. What's the difference between him and others? And I'm looking at it going, shit, man, I can stack Bitcoin on my own balance sheet. I know what my brother's doing is going to be awesome. I mean, I'm the one that gave him the idea, but it's like, wow, if you think that's awesome, what I'm doing is super awesome. Reduce my spend as a family, 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 and then take all of that reduction and pour it into one thing that has the least amount of risk with the greatest amount of upside. I think it's Bitcoin. Because in Normie's position, when you're 3 years into a deal, you do not know what the stock's worth. There is no stock. It's private. You don't know if it's worth 10% more or 100% more or 100% less. You don't, man, because there's no liquidity whatsoever. My brother doesn't know what those apartment buildings are really worth. They have no chart. If he goes to sell all of them tomorrow morning, I'm pretty sure they're not going to have the value that they used to have or that he thought they had, right? The only difference between these plays is that the Bitcoin private equity business has a chart, and it irritates people. It's a 24/7 chart. I never look at the bloody thing. Somebody said, is the price of Bitcoin $95? I'm like, oh shit, dude. I should have picked some more up at 88. Like, what was I thinking?
Gary, I will say,
Mike, and I'm used to doing that because I'm used to not knowing the value of these companies I'm building. Like I've got one right now that could be worth 100 million or it could be worth 30. I don't know. Go ahead.
I will say that what's interesting about the timing of all this is in some ways with AI and robotics and all of that, it actually is as good of a time as ever to build a business over buying Bitcoin because of the capability that you potentially have as just like a single person. You know, you can hire a bunch of agents and remove all the human risk. You know, it's all on your shoulders as a, you know, every business owner is, but the capabilities now is just unbelievable with what you can do. And you don't have to deal with hiring marketing and design and all this. They work 24/7. So if you are, you know, if you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you're just like, man, what do I do with my life? you could build $100 million business over the next 5 years by yourself. And, you know, what are people saying? It's like, when is the first $1 billion business with one person? I mean, it's going to happen.
This is the best comment I've heard about this. And I was wondering if it was going to come up because I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the only thing that would draw me. Now, the problem is for me, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else, and I most certainly don't want to use AI to do what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So AI is actually not going to help me, but I do agree, dude, that if you're not going to do what I'm saying, dude, you most certainly should look at AI. I mean, there's free courses at Stanford. Dustin, like, there's free courses from Stanford. I mean, it's silly, but you're totally right, man. I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. And by the way, you don't need to build $100 million business if you own the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
$30 million. Like, I think once you get to $20 to $30 million, like there's no difference between 20 and 30 and 300. There's a big difference between $1 billion and 300. Okay. You do stupid shit. But like you get to a point where it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
The thing for the young guys, all these people, everyone is that you need enough for a cushion. When I started realizing this was the more I got my stack, the more I felt like my family, me, everything I do had like this inflatable, I had some, I removed gravity in some way that it's helped me kind of float over all the friction points. And I'm extremely convinced in my thesis. Because I've done a lot of these things, it's almost like writing a book and going, hey, this is what I think. And when nobody can really knock the thesis down, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is correct.
Oh, it takes the unknown out of it. Everybody spends so much time preparing for the future and the unknown of what their life looks like, and you can pretty much throw that to the side once you understand Bitcoin, and that's the beautiful thing about it.
So do you think AI just accelerates the money printing? Because what it does is it creates deflation, and in a debt-ridden society, you have to print. You cannot actually pay back your debt and plus interest if there's deflation. So that just forces even more money printing, which is the Cantillon effect, and that's a good macro thesis for Bitcoin. So, because I have friends who are talking about, well, we're going to be entering into a deflationary world because of AI, but I'm like, well, there's the other side of that. You can't have deflation when you have a lot of debt. So that actually could actually trigger just a lot more money supply, even though conceptually, yeah, AI should actually make things cheaper in theory if you have a stable money supply.
Yep. And one of the first events I went to at PubKey was a Lightning event, and it was more geared towards generative AI, right? So the premise was people would contribute their computational GPU power towards this AI, and you'd pay this AI over Lightning, and what it would do is pay out the other computers in sats, right? So in real time, pay out the sats. It would do the creative project, and real time payout. So that is definitely much closer than a sort of like pipe dream. So it's definitely an interesting future where AI and Bitcoin get integrated.
As always, Bitcoin always benefits the most.
Yeah.
AI productivity goes straight to Bitcoin, ultimately.
Well, it makes sense that that AI uses some type of digital currency for transactions. So maybe that is Bitcoin too, right? I think that's another aspect to it. So not just from a finance angle, but it becomes the currency of AIs and agents working together with people.
So I love the point that Mike made. And Gary, you've been talking about Teddy Roosevelt at the turn of the last century ran on trust busting and breaking up monopolies. I think we're going through a transition period where a lot of these monopolies are fixing to be decentralized, which means there's going to be a world of opportunities. Because when Mike said there's never been an opportunity like right now for you to build a business, to go out, earn income, and then retain the wealth if you listen to what we're talking about here, right? The wild part of this is that person who builds, like the single person who builds $1 billion, he's going to be able to keep it because he's almost certainly going to be a Bitcoiner, because you're not an idiot if you're going to single-handedly make $1 billion, right? So the opportunity, like I'll admit, when I hear Gary talking about all of the like cruises that you take building, like I'm living it right now because I want to remake payments, right? Like I focused on a single thing that I think is monopolized and is vulnerable, and attacked a way that I could go build it. And I've laid out a bunch of them. I think there's media opportunities in the same space, right? That media is such garbage right now. Social media, traditional media, right? Somebody is going to figure out a way to make a shit ton of money by getting people just to report the news again in a way that is not completely sold out and bought off. Like somebody is going to crack that code and do something like absolutely incredible. And I think that those opportunities exist in almost every aspect of life. I think you're going to see food, right? I think we're going to see the breakup of the food, like the big agricultural food, because they have done themselves in, and AI like it so that they can't hide from their corruption, right? The fraud and corruption in all of these big monopoly industries, eventually they become bloated and rotted. It's just the natural life course, right? When you control so much of the market share, at some point, like you do dirty shit in order to increase profit margin. You almost have a fiduciary responsibility, let's call it, in order to like go outside the regular boundaries of the law, much less human decency. And I think we're going to get back to those areas. So I do want to say, go find an area, like we're going to see these transitions. Somebody's going to crack these codes and make multi-generational wealth and empires out of the opportunities that are going to be born over the next 5 to 10 years. And don't be afraid to go after it. And if you get it, just know where to park it so that you also get to keep it. Like that's the other wild thing about it, is you could have, when you talked about the life insurance policy for $52,000 your mom gave you. Like I kept thinking about, just imagine that you were in the 80s, you went through all the shit that you have to go through in order to build something that's big, right? Like all of the meetings, all of the attacks, all of the lawyers meetings, and compliance and contracts, right? All of that nonsense. And you make it, and they just deflate your money away. They bury you in lawyer hell, like backtracking through, and you end up in almost the exact same place you would have been just being a regular work. I think that the opportunities, and thank God for Bitcoin, because again, I truly believe there's such a community now of people with that revolutionary spirit, and it delivered a win against something big. Like when you go against one of these monopolies, like people have just given up that there could be competition. The same way we've given up that you could ever have competition with the Fed and the dollar and inflated currency. And it was a mindset shift that is just as important as all the gains that were made. And I love to see people I know the great thing is, right? Like I love how bullish Gary is, but I know that Gary invests in all kinds of things, right? If he believes it's revolutionary, if he believes it's got a chance, right? Bitcoin has afforded him the ability to rework what matters in what he's investing in, where I don't have to invest in Burger King and McDonald's and some bullshit. I can invest in somebody who's trying to make the world better. And if he fails, he fails. If he wins, we win. And because you have that level of comfortability, you're able to change some of your thesis about what you're doing. And I makes a world of difference. It really does.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, I wouldn't want to do all of this work, have this experience, and be wrong. Right? I mean, it's a little crazy. 67-year-old guy. Hey, look, I don't think I'm consolidated enough in Bitcoin. I think, in fact, I've diversified across this space too much. It's been a mistake. I would have had less headaches. And the more I look at it, I'm like, look, this makes no sense for people not to be pitching this hard as a core business. Because when you look at this business and you compare it against building one, risk adjusted, there is no comparison. I mean, not even close. Okay, so minimally, I'm not expecting people to quit their day job or, go double up their shift at 7-Eleven and start their family Bitcoin reserve thing. What I'm trying to do is have people look around and go, hey, what investments do I have right now? Where are they all? And why am I having all of this human error exposure when I don't have to? I don't care if you're in bonds. I have a lawyer that's 50% of his worth is in bonds at 4.5%. Now, he's so old, it doesn't matter. But like I look at him and go, bro, you're just killing your family. You're committing a really slow suicide. Now, maybe he has so much money as a lawyer. What's that?
You said he needs to learn about STRC. That's what he needs to do.
Well, see, there you go. Somebody says cash flow is like, dude, go buy STRC. You get 11% monthly. But why would you want it? Why would you want it? So what, you're going to just spend the money on the 11%? That's silly. That's not what you do in a business. That 11% would keep rolling into that business. I have never taken a salary building businesses. I'm rolling the money into next month. I'm not like, if I'm lucky, I've got some revenue that's flowing over the cost window, and I'm actually able to reinvest that money. People are doubling down owning businesses, constantly doubling down, barely taking enough out for themselves. Don't want to go on holiday with their family because they're like, dude, if I could put this money back in the business, we'd do better. There's just the more I think about it, I think I could have 30 people on here. They're like, you're not going to convince me this isn't a genius idea. And I probably should write a book about it because so many people are like, hey, that's crazy, man. Really? That's crazy. If I was mining silver, you guys would be investing with me. If I could tokenize silver and I'm out there with machines and shit, you guys would be like, wow, Gary's building a silver business. I would get more investors. Hey, I'm going to take it public. Right? So I look at every one of these. Where am I putting my energy for 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 8 hours a day? Where am I putting my energy, and am I getting a return on it? And like, I love the idea that I'm storing energy. I love that idea, and time, by the way. I'm actually, time. I mean, you can't get into an investment other than equities where you can get out. So it's gambling at that point. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to go pick a stock. I'm going to pick a bond. I'm going to pick something, right? Well, compare it to Bitcoin because it's not even comparable.
It's the diversification lie. People diversify because they don't know anything about what they're putting money in.
That's it, dude. It's the only
waste of time. It's a waste of time.
And it goes against how people live their regular lives. For instance, Dana, how cool is it for you to meet a really cool rich guy and he's like, yeah, but I diversify my chicks. That's my strategy.
Well, to each his own.
Yeah, but not for you though, right? You're not going to invest in that cat. So
not my style.
Yeah. So
what's your opinion on strategy then right now?
I think it's priced at 90 cents on the dollar. So look, I'm not selling my MicroStrategy. And the only reason I'm not selling my MicroStrategy is I have a lot of Bitcoin. But I should. The advice I'm giving people is, hey, you don't have enough Bitcoin yet. Like it is a real business, okay? And everyone's looking at it going, that's not a business. It is absolutely a business. It just doesn't have a lot of moving pieces. And it doesn't require you to go to a bunch of stupid meetings. And you're not going to look real busy. People are going to make comments. Wow, Gary's he's just painting. Dude, it's okay. I'm not spending any money. Okay? $100 for a canvas. I'm not spending any money. I am investing in Bitcoin. Right? Like that can be a business, man. Now, I could go invest in Chevron. I could. I think they're probably priced too low. They're up 10% this year. Nothing. And energy is required for all AI. There is no energy. There is no AI without the energy. And I look at it and go, wow, why would I buy ExxonMobil or Chevron? I mean, they're going to do well if we just beat the fuck out of every country and take all their resources. But if I want to store energy, I can't store energy for anything less than 30 cents a month, a decatherm, a $3.50 product. I have to spend 30 cents a month to store. I can store Bitcoin for nothing a month. It takes me about $4 to $5 to store oil on tankers a month, $60 product. 4 months, $20 on a $60 product. Price better go to $80. By the way, I'm having to pay fees for all this storage monthly to some other company. It's not even my own company. When I buy Bitcoin, I'm storing energy for 4 to 8 years, and I have no holding cost except the time value of money. What was the opportunity for that money that I spent on Bitcoin to get a better return in 4 to 8 years? What was the opportunity? I don't see a better opportunity than, and I only use a 12% yield. I assume it's 12%, and I'm fucking tickled pink. Okay, like tickled pink with a 12% guaranteed return over 8 years, compounded. That's 8 years times 12%. That's 100% plus, right? Shit.
I think you'll do a little better than that, Gary. But
But see, I use a really low number because I'm not getting out of a private equity deal in less than 8 years. If you sign up with my brother, you're in for 10 plus 10. If you sign up with Dan Tapiro, you're in plus 8 plus 4. You know,
always liquid is the optionality of that is always good. People don't value that properly. I mean, people come to me all the time. They're like, why don't you get into real estate? Why don't you buy fast food restaurants? Why don't you buy gas stations? Why don't you do this or that? I'm like, why? Give me a compelling reason why I would want to do that. Why would I want to manage hiring people? Like I left corporate because I hated dealing with people and I don't need to deal with them. Like this, I don't need to attend the meetings. I don't need to take on all the risk that everything else has. It's just, it's a no-brainer, which is why the ability to do this yourself, going back to the AI, is like really the only viable option today. Like, take on the ownership, the responsibility, the accountability for yourself personally, but like do that for you and see what happens. But beyond that, why put all that risk and all the unknown into other people's hands and then have to deal with it? Most people suck at managing people. When you're a business owner, you become a manager of people. Like, you're not really running the business. Like, that's what people don't understand that. And especially when you're trying to grow it, you're trying to hire people, you're trying to really expand it because you're not getting the returns that you want. It flatlines, it goes down, revenue's not where it needs to be. It's like, well, you could have just done the simple thing and just put it all in Bitcoin and it does it for you. Like, when you really break it down, it's just such a no-brainer, and people just need to think about things differently into this world that we're going into.
I think if you do an inventory and you go, hey, look, I'm building a business, I'm working for someone, and there's a Bitcoin opportunity. And when you do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, what's the other AT stand for?
It's opportunities.
Yes. If you just do an analysis and you really start looking at things like, wow, this is very, very fascinating. When the whole list under Bitcoin's like, wow, there's just there is no HR department. Like, everything I ever do, it gets big. And as soon as HR shows up, I'm like, I'm out of here, dude. Get me the fuck out of here. HR is going to destroy this company. They're going to they're going to immediately come in and go, Gary, you can't say that with staff. They fucking love it when I said it when we were building it. Now we got a bunch of mediocre little marshmallow people, and they're like, oh, I'm offended by the word fuck. It's like, bro, it's my business, okay? How about get the fuck out? Oh, you can't fire him. I don't like his attitude. You can't fire him, Gary, for his attitude. Yeah, I can. It's Florida. Right? But then people get all freaked out like, wow, he just fired him because he didn't like his attitude. Yeah, I didn't like his attitude. It's a loser attitude. I don't need losers around me. I wouldn't let a loser come in. Mike's a great baseball player, but he's a complete asshole. I'm building a baseball team. Mike, get the fuck off my team, dude. I don't care. You're destroying the rest of the crew. This is stuff I do not have to deal with, man. Especially if you know how to blow businesses up. I'm like I know how to blow these businesses up. And I'm like, wow, why do I want to take 4 trips to Dubai to develop this idea? Why do I want to get into an energy project that's going to last 8 years? Let me go build a nuclear power station. 12 years. Regulatory risk out the ass. Risk reward. See, that's the deal. Risk reward and a return. Risk reward and a return. There is no better investment thesis than Bitcoin. And the only hair on it, I think the only hair on it is that it has a chart 24/7. I literally did not know the price was 95 grand. Like, see, but I'm a mature investor. I'm not in this for 4 minutes. I'm in it for 4 to 8 years, man. That's when I came in. I'm like, oh, I'm here for 8 years, dude. The return's going to be obnoxious. And I mean the return of the money in any kind of farm that you, some people will go, well, you're measured in dollars. Yeah, I am, dude. Okay, I'm a bad person. Okay, I think dollars are going to be around for a while. And if I price it in gold and silver, it's never been cheaper. Whoa, you're not hearing anybody say that. Oh, look at what gold and silver is showing. The Bitcoin is cheap as shit. That, see, to me, everybody makes, oh, wow, Bitcoin's not keeping up. Dude, get on your knees and mine some fiat, dude. Exactly. It's not keeping up. That's an opportunity. Like, even the Bitcoin people go, some of you are sitting here fighting this. When people figure this out, dude, like, you're going to start looking at, I really do believe people, this is a very small industry right now. Very few people are getting, oh my God, this is an 8-year play I cannot replicate anywhere, including, by the way, owning a home. Okay, which 90% of the people on the show will be like, oh, wow, I own a home. Well, maybe you should look at selling it and renting and buying Bitcoin. That's one. All your treasuries, all your bond notes, some equities. If you own Philip Morris and it's paying a 4% yield, dude, you can go right into STRC and get an 11% yield. You're in Bitcoin now. I'd rather see somebody do that than own Philip Morris stock or Raytheon.
Yeah, it's sad that Joe left because his company, you're actually able to use home equity to get Bitcoin.
Yeah. And listen, there are going to be people that build businesses anyway. I mean, it's cool. I do, like, I have a lot of skills because I built a bunch of businesses, but I didn't have the opportunity of Bitcoin. And when I did, if I look back, when I first learned about Bitcoin, had I dumped all of my, if I'd have really understood it, but I didn't, had I exited earlier, I would be worth a lot more today. And for me, I look at it and go 4 to 8 years. Wow, I'll be 70 plus. This is a good play, man. Risk adjusted. It's awesome. I just don't have enough. I still am not heavy enough because I still live in the fiat world. I've got shit that's tied up in that world. So I just wanted to share my perspective because you're probably not going to, no one's going to trust some Dylan LeClaire young guy to come in here and go, hey, man, Bitcoin's a core business. Right? An older guy sitting here, and I've built so many businesses. I'm like, wow, this is unfreaking believable. I really cannot believe I'm still able to buy a 5-digit Bitcoin. Really. With this mindset, I'm like, my God, this is so amazing. And I just want to repeat the amazing part. It's not the return. It's the lack of risk. And everyone talks about Bitcoin as a risk. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Okay. Volatility does not mean risk. It means it's volatility. And by the way, I don't even think the volatility is great. Volatility is boring the fuck out of me. I think volatility is it's abnormal, in fact, especially with gold and silver.
Yep. And with institutional money now in the market, like the traditional bear market at around 40% is less devastating than, the 65 and 70% bear markets of the past. So it's, it'll be much more subdued, and, the buying opportunity is tremendous right now.
Yeah. See, and I hope you're wrong. I hope we get another 70%.
I'd
See,
be happy with that.
that's how convinced I am. See, see, most people would look at that and go, wow, that's crazy. Yes, I would love a 70% retracement. Absolutely, man. Remember, when I'm building a business, let's say I'm in the MoonPay. Okay, I'm building MoonPay. What's MoonPay worth today? What's Chainalysis worth today? They raised $8 billion, dude. You can't exit Chainalysis if you wanted to. What's it worth? You're going to have to go through the secondary market. If you're a secretary holding Chainalysis stock, you're going to have to go in the secondary market. It ain't 8 billion or whatever they raised. I know, because I've been in these companies where I got all this stock and I probably left $100 million worth of stock with the company that I left at 40. They're like, hey, what are you going to do with all these options? I didn't tell them. I'm like, I think they're worthless, man. They're so far out of the money. Who cares? Sold all my stock at $54 a share. And 6 months later, the stock was at 75 cents. 75 cents, 54 to 75 cents. And the point I'm trying to make there is anyone that's in that position, you are so concentrated on one trade. And then you look at a guy like me talk about Bitcoin, you're like, well, that's crazy. I'm like, no, what's crazy is what you're doing right now, because you're so consolidated in human era risk. Dustin, how stupid is this?
Wildly, almost as stupid as the fact that it's 7 p.m. and the other side of the world is waking up. I have to take some of those meetings you hate so much. So Dana has been almost eerily quiet this episode. So Dana, I think it's time for poker night. Like, we're overdue for that too, by the way.
Let's do it. What are we gonna bet though if everyone just owns Bitcoin? Gary tried to bet a whole Bitcoin. You're muted.
No, we bet fiat. We ain't.
No, you bet Dustin's car. Oh, Gary, you're muted again.
Well, Dana, I think Dustin was trying to tee you up for closing comments.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys all coming on. You've all given me a lot to think about, actually. So that is what I've been doing, is thinking. Make sure that everyone follows everyone here. We do Cardone debates every Tuesday at 5.
So, what's your handle on Twitter?
Hey, what's our topic next week? Don't we have a cool topic? I forgot what it was though.
You came up with it. I wrote it down.
You don't remember either, huh?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'll post it tonight.
Well, while you're thinking about it, can I say thank you to Normies, Mike Muntz, Song, Dustin, and you guys follow these cats. They come here, they give their time free. And look, it's not a heavy debate thing. It's actually a conversation that I'm not trying to be right or wrong. I'd like the audience to think about things. And I think these conversations offer an opportunity just to think about things a little differently. And challenge the thesis of what we do as normal. Like Mike said, we are moving into a world that is not normal. We've never been there. We're moving into like robotics, AI, digital everything. And to see the world moving into digital planet Earth, and not to look at this digital opportunity and go, I want to be an analog or I want to be in a digital world. Where am I going? Because I'm pretty sure we're moving to a digital world. I am never going to listen to another 8-track tape ever in my life. Dustin, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you being here. Dana, why don't you end us out?
Yeah, everyone follow everyone here. Mike, Song, also awesome to meet you, Song. Shambles, Gary, have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
Think about not taking your meetings.
See everybody. It was great.
Take care.